What is up, RotoGrinders? Time for another edition of FanDuel Friday. You can find our Super Bowl edition of FanDuel Friday up on YouTube and the RotoGrinders page already. Make sure you're hitting the like button, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell for us. But it's time to talk some NBA. We got an 11-game slate after a chaotic trade deadline 4-game slate yesterday. It's all about managing those deadline moves today. I am joined once again by Andre Alford and Justin Carlucci. Luuch, how you doing today?
Good. It's like we never left. Weird. But yeah, the deadline's crazy. There's a lot of moving parts. If you want to be social tonight on Friday night, you're not playing DFS. Make sure those RotoGrinders push notifications are on either way. But there's going to be a lot of news. A lot of guys have questionable tags, some because of injury, others because they're with new teams, and we're not sure if they're going to make their debuts. So some of this could be stale, but it's such a big slate. Regardless, there's some really unique plays tonight I think we can look at.
And we got 7 games in the first hour of lock and then a break until 10 p.m. Eastern where we got 4 more games starting then. Dre, how you doing? And what are you thinking about today's NBA slate?
Yeah, I think it's a interesting one. Got 11 games right on the docket tonight. It's a lot of news that you got to pay attention to. We get to them already as you see, like some of these guys are not making their debuts. But we expect some of these guys to make their debuts, and if not, there's going to be a lot of value where you could then go stars and scrubs here on this slate. But I think it's a good one overall. I think there's some guys that you definitely have to lock in, and some guys that are excellent plays. So I'm ready to break it down with you guys.
And we're going to keep this one tight. We're not going to go game by game. It's an 11-game slate. Some matter a lot more than the others. If you do want a game by game breakdown, you can check out the Morning Grind with Stevie and Will. I'll be on Grinders Live today later with Bobby, and then the Crunch Time crew of Andre himself is joining Means and Kevin Roth as well. So we'll take you through all the last minute injury news and go game by game on some other shows. But for this one, we're going to look at some main targets as well as talk some general strategy. If we look at these 7 o'clock games, we got a team like Phoenix right at the first game of the night, but they're getting Devin Booker back today. So Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, these guys are still in good spots. Lee, Craig, Okaji, Wainwright, still potential values, but with Devin Booker back, they're looking a lot less interesting. We got Joel Embiid questionable for Philly. If he happens to be out, that opens up a ton of Philly value, but he's been questionable basically every game and always been playing. The first one I think we got to focus on, spend some time on here at 7 o'clock is San Antonio and Detroit. San Antonio currently has Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Jeremy Sohan, all listed as questionable. They just traded Jakob Poeltl to the Toronto Raptors, so he's not there anymore, leading to some major Zach Collins chalk for us right now. Sohan, Jones, and Keldon, they all went through shoot-around this morning, so I'd probably put them on closer side of playing. But if they're out, San Antonio is just going to have mega value today, Dre. Or I guess I'll go Luuch since Dre was yawning.
Yeah, it's tough. There's going to be a ton of value there. Zach Collins is popping in pretty much everything. I have a hard time trusting some of these Spurs. It's such a huge slate. I guess you have to look at guys like McDermott a little bit. Don't know what his ceiling is on this slate. Isaiah Roby's interesting. I'm assuming Zach Collins is going to start. Who knows? But either way, Isaiah Roby, if a majority of these guys sit, if you get me 22 minutes of Isaiah Roby, we've seen him absolutely smash last year with the Thunder. Decent points per minute guy. But then you have Charles Bassey too. So it's tough to figure it out. It's pretty cluttered up front. I would just wait and see who starts there. Stanley Johnson at 4,400. I still don't know. We really need to see an injury report here. Malachi Branham up to 5K. I don't think I'm interested at that price. So, we just have to see where the dust settles here. We're not going to know for a couple hours, unfortunately.
I think Branham's somebody I'd only be interested in if Trey Jones happens to not play. If these guys are all out, then all of a sudden the Stanley Johnsons, Isaiah Roby become even more interesting. And I think you could even take shots on Charles Bassey today. How about you, Dre?
Yeah, I'm not interested in nobody in the backcourt. Just give me the front court, and I'm not even comfortable with playing a guy like like Zach Collins a lot because he fouls a lot. But with everyone off the court, possibly and without Jakob Poeltl, he should absolutely still smash, especially against the Detroit front court here. So he would be the one of the few players that I like from San Antonio in this situation today. I don't think I really have anyone else actually on San Antonio, my player pool that I have now. So yeah, that's it.
The next set of games I want to take it to are these two 7:30 games we have. We have Utah versus Toronto. The Toronto side of things, they might be getting Jakob Poeltl ready today. If he's in, I don't have a ton of interest in this team. If he's out, guys like Achua are still interesting. Boucher, I think, can stay in your player pool. Van Vliet and Siakam, especially Siakam, looking very underpriced today with that power forward value. But the team I think we got to spend more time on is going to be the Utah Jazz because they just traded away Mike Conley. We do currently have Jordan Clarkson listed as questionable. He got downgraded midday with an illness. If he plays, he's a phenomenal play. If he doesn't, even more value on this team. Colin Sexton and Talen Horton-Tucker are already looking like some values we're looking to get to today, as is Kelly Olynyk and Lauri Markkanen at 7-7. That's just way too cheap for him. I love getting to some Markkanen in tournaments.
Yeah, me personally, I think this is an interesting team to target here in GPPs. Markkanen I love a lot. I don't think Clarkson plays, and if he does play, I'm not as high on him today, even without Conley. The guy I really do like a lot, though, it also depends on the Toronto news. If Jakob Poeltl does not play, it's going to be Walker Kessler. Like I know he's 7-2. We have a lot of center value, but that ownership is going to be hardly anybody on him at all. And he can smash here and have a 50, 60 point game here in this spot against this Toronto team who does not have a good front line. No one on the front line really to stop them currently that plays defense really well. So I think he's someone that I think is really interesting. And yeah, Sexton is someone that I think plays hard, plays well, someone we can definitely fire up, but I don't know how much I want to get to him. 5.2 is an excellent price, though. I think there might be some other guys that I want to fire up today around that price range, though.
I love the Walker Kessler call. I think he's a great play for tournaments. Something interesting about Toronto, an interesting stat I saw before the deadline that I think makes sense with their deadline moves is their defensive rating when they don't have a legit center on the court this year is like 117. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. When they play Christian Koloko on the court, who is like their only legit center on the team, they have a 104 defensive rating. And so I think that's why they picked up Jakob Poeltl, is because they actually become one of the better defensive teams in the league when they're using a center. And now they have a legit center who is a very good defender himself. So if he's in, I'll have a lot less interest in this Utah team. But if he's out, I'm going to want to be loading up. How about you, Luuch? Where do you stand on these Utah guys?
First of all, that Toronto team is not a team I'd want to see in the postseason. You know, they held on to OG, surprisingly. Still got Van Vliet, surprisingly. Siakam, you had a big body in Jakob, like you said, and they're just going to be a tough out, as they are every year. I like Horton-Tucker a lot. Clarkson with the downgrade is very interesting. I think Horton-Tucker is warranted for large field tournaments, even if Clarkson plays. We haven't projected for 20 minutes. If Clarkson sits, I would imagine Horton-Tucker gets at least 10 more of those. And that projection, I'm guessing. I'm not a projections guy. I'm not a projections team, but I'd give him 10 more minutes at least to get him up to around 30 minutes here. His career per 36 numbers. Now, he's not going to see 36 minutes most likely, but I would guess if Clarkson sits, he plays 30. He averages 15 a game with 4.5 assists and a little over 4.5 rebounds. So 3,800 he is. His career usage is 22%. So he's a guy that actually does something when he gets the ball and doesn't just stand in the corner. So I like Horton-Tucker quite a bit. Regardless of Clarkson's status tonight. And it's never good when you get the midday downgrade. Usually that means, hey, this guy's probably not going to play tonight.
And even if for some reason he doesn't pop into the starting lineup if Clarkson's out, I don't think you worry, because after watching this Jazz game after Mike Conley got traded, Colin Sexton was the starting point guard. Clarkson got some ball handling duties as well, but basically exclusively in his 24 minutes, Talen Horton-Tucker was the backup point guard for this team. And so I do think he's going to get a lot of minutes, both staggered with Clarkson, so he can play the point guard position. And then especially if Clarkson's out, he's likely going to be the one closing this game as well. Let's look at the Charlotte side of things because, like LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier all are interesting plays as they always are. But Mark Williams, Nick Richards, PJ Washington, all three of these guys majorly in play with no Mason Plumlee anymore. We're expecting to see we're actually projecting Nick Richards into the starting lineup, which is interesting based on Mark Williams having been the backup center lately. But both of these guys are going to be strong plays. And PJ Washington likely going to get a lot of center run as well. Dre, where do these Charlotte bigs stand for you in terms of targets? Because for me, they're going to be among the most important plays on the slate.
Yeah, they definitely are for sure. I don't know which one I want to lean more towards because they both, I think, are pretty good plays here. They both are pretty good plays and also good point per minute guys too as well. I'm going to probably lean more towards Nick Richards. I think, even though Mark Williams is, I think, more of the athletic guy. I think Nick Richards though is if he's going to start, which I assume he's going to start, I think he's probably going to get majority of the minutes to keep Mark Williams in that backup role. So I will go towards the guy who's going to get a little bit more minutes here. I think it's just an excellent spot for him to be. I don't know if I want to say a lot, but definitely very close to it today on this slate at these prices.
I'll be making a rule that I want one of Williams, Washington, and Richards on all of my teams today, just because I feel like one of these three is going to be having a big day. On the Boston side of things, Jaylen Brown broke his face. His face is broken, so he's out. Jason Tatum at 10-8 is looking like one of the very best spend-ups on the slate, but he's questionable as well with an illness. Now, he did participate in shoot-around, and so maybe we can kind of expect him to go today. But if he doesn't, there is so much value on this team. Fire up Brogdon, White, Williams, the other Williams, Horford, Hauser, Pritchard, all of these guys. As it stands right now, I think the place outside of Tatum I have the most interest is going to, like, Derek White's picking up a ton of ownership right now. That's something I think I'd likely want to get underweight on and just maybe go overweight on Brogdon, who's a little bit cheaper. But Horford at 4,900 with the power forward eligibility looks great. Rob Williams at 6,100 with the power forward eligibility looks really good as well. We pivot to these late games here. Dallas and Sacramento has high total and a close spread. But I mean, both of these teams are starting to get healthy. We got Luka Doncic back on a team that now has Kyrie Irving, so that kind of sours that one a little bit for me. Milwaukee and the Clippers, a lot of potential upside in this game. We don't have an injury report yet for Milwaukee today because they are on a back-to-back, but Giannis is a big high upside play, and if for some reason him or Drew Holiday happens to sit, we could see a ton of value open up on this team. The Clippers are already without Kawhi Leonard today, and so an $8,200 Paul George is one of the strongest plays on the slate. One of the first pieces you are going to add in for cash games today. But the last game on the slate I want us to have a little bit of a focus on here is the OKC and Portland game. OKC, if Luguentz Dort plays, I don't really have much interest in this team at all because Giddey and SGA, their rates go heavily down when Dort plays. But if Dort is out, I still think the ancillary pieces of Jalen Williams and Kenrich Williams are in play. And then guys like Giddey and SGA become phenomenal plays. But the Portland side of things is really where we're going to be wanting to get to some of these plays today. Luuch, talk to me about the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah. A lot of guys in the player pool tonight across the industry. Lillard's numbers without Josh Hart and Nurkic are unbelievable. He averages 40 real points per 36 minutes. Now, when you toggle on Simons and Jeremy Grant with Lillard together, those numbers dip to a pedestrian 30 real points per 36 minutes, right? Oh, which is still amazing, right? His usage average between those two splits is 38%. So there's a ceiling game in here for Lillard, I think, against the Thunder, who play at a top 5 pace. Of course, Lillard's not going to play his entire run with Jeremy Grant and Simons on the court together. So I think his ownership's warranted there. I think he goes for at least 55 tonight if the game's competitive, fantasy points that is. And Jeremy Grant and Simons, I think, also have to be in the player pool here. I would set a build rule. I wouldn't play those two guys together. I just can't envision them going off and having 6 or 7 times value together. Drew Eubanks, another guy, has to be in the player pool and know what his upside is without use of Nurkic. And, of course, Nasir Little. What's Nasir Little's role going to be? He's a pretty good basketball player himself. So a lot of ownership here condensing to one team on this massive slate with a ton of news. It gets a little sketchy here.
If Little happens to start, I think he is one of the better values on the slate, but they also did just add Cam Reddish. They got Sharp. They got Walker. I would be probably less inclined to go there than the bigs like Eubanks or Watford or the Lillard, Grant, or Simons is today, who are all phenomenal plays. Dre, how are you prioritizing Portland?
Portland, it's just Lillard. Is Lillard the main play for sure? I don't mind getting Simons as well and Drew Eubanks. Grant as well too. All of them, I think. Well, all of those guys, let me just say, are great plays. Lillard's going to be the most I want to target a lot here. He's just been on a tear lately, and it's just continuous. As long as Nurkic is out, we expect Damian Lillard to continue to play at a high level, like he is right now. So, he's borderline a must play. Yeah, that's it for me when it comes to this team. But I want to go back real quick because you mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks game too as well. And there's a little button we have called the lock button. You take that button with Paul George being at 8,200, and you just lock him in for the night. He's getting you 40. He's getting you 50 tonight. 50 fantasy points minimum tonight. I can pretty much almost guarantee that. So, I think he's just in a phenomenal spot here against the Bucks with that, and he's gonna get all the usage in the world with also those trades not being able to probably be able to be played today. So I say get it in while you can, for sure.
If we're talking optimal style builds, I think this is going to be how I'm wanting to start out my lineups today. There's so many just underpriced, strong, valued players today that this group would be how I would be looking to finish out my lineup. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We got the FanDuel Friday show available for the Super Bowl as well if you're playing some showdowns. So make sure you check that out. Thank you so much for tuning in today for the NBA show on behalf of myself, Andre Alford, Justin Carlucci, and our wonderful RotoGrinders production team. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.